Hey guys, my name is Emma Wyans. Today I'm going to be talking about stretching for increasing muscle strength. Before I get into the topic, I want to talk about why I picked this topic. So over the summer, I started to get neck pain, upper trap pain, and some rhomboid pain. So I went to one of my friends that graduated from Fredonia with an exercise science degree, and I asked her what was going on, asked her if she could kind of rub the knots out. And she said basically what's going on is that my chest and my lats were super tight, which was pulling my head down and causing these muscles back here to lengthen and to stretch out. So basically what I had to do was I had to start stretching. And when we had this conversation, she mentioned the fact that stretching actually can increase muscle strength and muscle growth, because when you stretch, you elongate the muscles, giving you more room to create more muscle and become stronger. I thought that was really cool, so I decided to take this opportunity to research a little more about that and kind of dive into that topic. So, let's start out with the rumors of stretching and strength gains. So basically, the biggest myth in the fitness industry is that stretching kills your gains. This can be true to some extent because of the timing of stretching. Depending when you do it, it could decrease the amount of weight that you're able to push. But if the timing of the stretching as well as the type of stretching is done correctly, stretching can actually help the lifter get stronger. So the effect that resistance training has on your flexibility. A lot of people think that once you begin to resistance train and gain muscles, your flexibility goes away. That's because we all see those bodybuilders walking around. They look big, they look hunched over, and it looks like they have like a hard time washing their back in the shower. But it doesn't decrease flexibility. The reason why a lot of lifters tend to become less flexible is because many lifters tend to overtrain certain muscle groups and undertrain the opposing muscle groups, causing imbalances. A lot of people like to train the muscles that they see. So that's all of the front region. You can see chest, you can see shoulders, you can see biceps, you can see triceps. So everyone is training those muscle groups. You can't see your back in the mirror. You can't see your glutes in the mirror. So everyone kind of ignores them because that's kind of like not the showing muscles, but this causes problems. In my experience, I have also noticed that the weightlifters around me, including myself, don't take time to stretch their body out ever. The example is what I said earlier about overtraining chest while undertraining rhomboids can cause bad posture, further weakening the back muscles, causing bad posture and chest tightness. And then right here I just put a little picture of here's normal posture, bad posture, and then this picture shows the weak neck, tight pecs, tight upper traps, and weak lower traps, and rhomboids. And then I just included a couple stretches. So we have chest stretch, and lat stretch. Alright, so the impact that stretching has on your muscles. Stretching lengthens the muscle that is being stretched. It increases flexibility, increases range of motion, decreases risk of injuries, and increases blood circulation to various parts of the body. It's what all the lifters want. They want that pump, right? Different types of stretching include static, dynamic, ballistic, active, passive, isometric, and PNF stretching. What we're going to talk about today is static stretching, dynamic stretching. These are the two most common stretching that you see. You see athletes stretch this way. You see athletes stretch, they do a lot of static stretching and dynamic stretching, as well as weightlifters. So what is static stretching? Static stretching is when the person is stretching the muscles while at rest. It lengthens the muscle in an elongated position and is usually held from 30 seconds to a minute. Now that I think about it, we actually did a lot of static stretching for track. That was like the number one sport that we did static stretching. And, well, I'll get into it, but as a sprinter, you wouldn't want to do that pre-workout. Anyways, dynamic stretching. Dynamic stretching is stretches that are performed with movement. The stretch is not held out. Instead, the momentum of the muscles being actively used are driving the muscle group to reach the full range of motion, but you're not going past full range of motion. You don't want to get that overstretch. Here are a couple examples of the static and dynamic. So we have, the static stretching right here. She's just elongating that delt, holding it for about 30 seconds to a minute most likely. And then we have dynamic stretching. With this right here is a high knee. A couple other examples are karaoke, butt kicks. Yeah. Alright, so out of the two, what type of stretching is best done prior to lifting, static or dynamic? Dynamic stretching is definitely better than static stretching. We're going to get into that right now. So why dynamic and not static? Dynamic stretching will increase the lifter's range of movement as well as blood flow and oxygen to the muscles, tendons, and ligaments. It also decreases risk of injury and improves performance. If you static stretch before workouts, you release the tension in your muscles, decreasing the volume of weight one can push. So when you enter the gym, your muscles are all in tight coils, right? Because you haven't stretched out. If you go in and say you are doing a military press, overhead push press for shoulders, and you go and you static stretch, hold that out 30 seconds, stretch out your side delts, stretch out your chest, stretch out your static stretch out your front delts, you are now releasing all these coils, elongating them, and taking away that explosive movement, which in return you're not going to be able to lift as much weight. Okay, so this doesn't mean, though, that static stretching should never be done, and it certainly does not mean that static stretching will not help a lifter get stronger. This is one of my favorite lifters right here. Her name is Kiana Welsh. She is the American record holder for 79 kilo class Olympic weightlifting. She snatched 106 kilo, which is well over 200 pounds. She's pretty insane. But over here, she's stretching. On social media, all the time she's showing her stretching routines, and she's showing that she wants to make sure that everything is running smoothly and she's getting the most out of her training. She really preaches that she, just wants longevity in the sport, and she wants to make sure that her body is up to par for as long as possible so she can just keep lifting. So when should static stretching be performed for optimal muscle growth? This was my number one question coming in to the project. I didn't know. I knew not right before, but working out, but I wasn't sure if you should do it right after working out, right before you go to bed. So the best time to static stretch is right after exercise when the muscles are warm, stretching the muscles that were just worked. The static stretching elongates the muscles, creating more room for muscle growth and muscle recovery. It also increases flexibility, which can also have a positive impact on increasing muscle strength and growth. I've learned that that flexibility is insanely important. So flexibility is a major key to muscle growth. Increasing flexibility can help a lifter perform lifts in a more efficient way, letting the lifter move through movements fully. This guy, John Call, he's just I wouldn't say a bodybuilder, he's more of a power lifter, but he's just insanely flexible. He's funny. And then over here we have the classic Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's doing a behind the head military press. I see this movement done a lot, and a lot of the people are not flexible enough to do this movement. I'm not flexible to do this movement. I'm slowly getting there, but I see a lot of people performing it, and people are going to get hurt because people don't realize that flexibility really is important. Another example is the overhead squat performed in class. If you remember, or if you were there was like 4 or 5 people. We were all overhead squatting with our hoodies, and me especially, everyone else kind of had some type of problem, but we found that my hip flexors are tight, my hamstrings are tight, my calves are tight. This was all causing my chest to come forward, my toes to pinch out, my ankles to curve in a little bit. So, yeah, flexibility is extremely important for weightlifting and for those types of movements. Another cool way to stretch is stretch during a workout. So what I like to do, what I like to mix in sometimes, is say I'm doing light incline dumbbell work. I want to go for about 25 reps, and every 5 reps, I'll pause at the bottom, stretching out my chest and letting all the blood pool in. So I do 4 reps, stretch out on the 5th one for 3 to 5 seconds, letting all that blood fill in. I go and do 4 more, 5th one again, I'm pausing at the bottom, letting all that blood pool in. And I go till 25, or I go till failure, depending on how light the weight is. This technique leads to a better pump, and it almost, when I say almost, I really mean almost, has, it's not quite similar, but it almost has a similar effect to the occlusion training bands. So when we were talking about the occlusion bands in class, it wraps around your arm, constricting blood flow from your bicep and your tricep, causing all the blood to pool in, and you're going to feel a really tight, cool pump. Your skin's going to get tight. It's going to feel hot. It's going to burn. That's kind of what this technique does in a way, except it doesn't cut off the blood flow circulation. But I always like to mix this in for a better pump. So overall, what stretching impacts and increases muscle strength the most? I'd say overall a combination of stretching helps with an increase in muscle strength. The biggest factor is when the stretch is performed and how it is performed. So an athlete that wants to be well-rounded should include these stretches so they can be flexible, so they can have the mobility, so they can have longevity in the sport, and so they can decrease risk of injuries. Right here I have, again, Kiana Welsh performing a squat snatch, and I just want to compare her to this guy real quick. As you can tell, he looks really uncomfortable in the hole. I mean, they both do, because she's lifting over 200 pounds, but he looks extremely uncomfortable in the hole with his technique. His butt is not low. He's not sitting comfortably. If you can tell, her butt is super, super low in the hole. His chest is really far forward. It looks like he has a lot of muscle tightness. And as you can tell, Kiana doesn't really have any muscle tightness. Her technique is just pretty flawless. It's pretty amazing because she's so flexible, because she's able to perform. So yeah, there's the comparison. That is it. Thank you. If you have any questions, drop them below. Email me. Peace.